So, after my marriage ended and I was in between relationships, I would put, ads on like Match or different dating sites. And my theory was not to look to jump into a relationship, but just to get out of the house and to be respectful, meet in a public place, and have good conversation. And if something came of it, fine. If not, fine. I wasn't holding my breath. That was how I approached things. So, yeah, and then like if I was in a relationship, I wouldn't do it. So, I remember one time after all these years, I got an email from a man. Now, when I would put an ad on, I would really try to be honest. But, you want to put your best foot forward, but you also want to be honest. And maybe I had a picture of me on a cruise ship or something. I don't know, but I don't think I came across as being like stuck up or expecting a lot. Um, I don't know, but there must have been something in one of the pictures or something that I said that might have sounded a little high maintenance, and I would call myself medium maintenance. I'm not low maintenance. I'm not high maintenance. I think I'm a realistic type person. And so this one man, like I would get a lot of emails, but like most of the stuff sounded like either cut and paste or like I don't know, like they were jerks or they didn't know what they were talking about. And they probably were nice men, but they just didn't translate well to doing emails or whatever. But at the time, maybe I was less experienced with dealing with, you know, online dating. But this one man wrote me a letter and he was so sincere. He said, I was looking at the ads, and he said, I really liked your ad, not just your pictures, but what you had to say. But he said, but I'm going to be honest with you. I think you're a little bit above my pay grade. Like I'm struggling to make ends meet, and I really couldn't afford to take you to, like maybe a fancy restaurant or even like, a halfway fancy restaurant or whatever. And out of all the emails at that time, I felt his was the most sincere and heartfelt. And I wrote him back and I said, you know what? You sent me the best email that I've gotten since I started all this because you were totally honest. You totally, showed yourself for who you were. And I said, I haven't met anyone because I'm not, like looking to meet every person that emails me, every man that emails me. But rather, I want to see if like there's something that intrigues me or there's a click or whatever. Because otherwise you're just wasting your time. You're just going through the motions. And I wrote him a lengthy email, and he wrote me back, but like we never met. But I remember like I was so impressed that this man had no problem, and he did it in a very polite way, um, showing himself for who he was. A lot of people, whether it's in real life and on the internet, and I'm sure I'm guilty of it too, but not recently. They like to put on a false persona. And I don't mean just keeping your personal business personal or putting your best foot forward. That's pretty much a given. But like to like invent this whole fake persona of who you are, or to like extremely exaggerate your education, your financial success, or your appearance. Especially like back in the day, they didn't have all these apps. People would use old pictures, or if they had Photoshop, they would do. I remember Sophia Petrillo had a friend that was a graphic designer or graphic artist, and she used to get. She only did it with a couple of pictures, and she kept using them. She had this friend make her look 20 years younger and 40 pounds lighter. And Sophia Petrillo, and I don't mean to judge, I'm just using it as an example. She must have met hundreds of men, and most of them didn't want to come back for a second, to get to know her better because she put out a false image of herself. I can't tell other people what to do. And I'm not God. I can't judge people or whatever. But you know, when somebody puts out a false persona, on the internet of themselves, of like maybe their financial, like again I'm saying, financial, appearance, education, lifestyle, where they live, whatever, and they tell you all this stuff, but they're really, who it hurts the most? Like my father used to say, people punish themselves, and he was right. When you put out a false identity, you are trapped. You are trapped because sooner or later, and this could be in real life, it could be at a job, whatever. Sooner or later, it comes out, and you have to hide certain things, and you have to make excuses. You get caught in a lie that pretty much something happens or comes up that shows that you've blatantly lied. Now you don't seem very credible. Who does it hurt the most but the person who's perpetuated the false persona? I'm coming across as being very sanctimonious, and I don't want to do that. um I think because everyone's a little guilty of it, but like there's different levels of whatever. I think it's better not to say anything if you can't show it. If you can't, Anita, my friend that passed away on 4th of July last year, she used to say, I won't tell you, I'll show you. And she was right. I can show you better than I can tell you. She used to say that all the time. Don't tell someone you're on a diet. Just go on a diet, and if you've lost 20 pounds, now you show up, you're 20 pounds thinner. Great. Um, if you went back to school and you got another degree, and now, you're at a better job, you don't have to tell people, brag. You just go and you do you. If you've gotten a better vehicle, you don't have to tell anyone. You're driving that vehicle. Sooner or later, someone will see you. Um, I used to be friends with someone that she did a real false persona. I couldn't take it after a while. I had to stop being friends with her. God, God, I don't know who was worse, her or Sophia Petrillo. At first, I believed her. I had no reason to think she was lying. Her parents were very successful. Her brother was successful, and she was a mess, poor thing. And she used to tell such lies to make herself sound like she was so much more than she was. And she had a pleasant personality. I think that would have been good enough. And when people would find out the depth of her lies, then they didn't want to be friends with her anymore. And she lost out. I think that those people would have probably stayed friends with her had she been honest and just, said, well, this is my situation and, whatever. But another thing that she used to do was she drove an old beater car because that's what she could afford. And her parents had higher end vehicles, and she would want to borrow their vehicle. And she would like invent all these lies to her parents to try to make it seem you know, so she had a good excuse to get the car. And then she would want to go and meet some guy like from an internet date driving the luxury vehicle to impress the guy. Well, if he really likes you, he doesn't care what you're driving. Um, but if you're going to get into a relationship with someone for real, then they're going to find out the truth about you. So why lie? You just end up building a relationship based on a lie, and then there's resentment. I would rather have had a man in my life like that man that wrote me that said, I can't really afford, because he was like up front. He was direct. There was no lie, no BS, whatever. I respect that. But when you put out a false persona about yourself, you put yourself into a cage. You really do. You entrap yourself with your lies. And then it comes back and it bites you in the ass. So there's one woman that I was friends with. I'll call her Marianne. Oh my God. She did internet dating, and she always wanted. She rented a small apartment, and actually, it was cute in the way it was decorated. But she would want to, and trust me, my house is nice, but it's not, a mansion. But she would want to take pictures inside of my house. One time she wanted to have some guy meet her at my house. I said, no, I don't want some stranger from the internet coming to my house. No, no, no. I don't even do that. You're not doing that. Because she wanted him to think my house was her house. God knows what she was telling people. Um, Anyone can stand in front of a luxury vehicle or high-end vehicle and take a picture of themselves, or drive around an upscale neighborhood and get out and take a picture of themselves with that beautiful house in the background. Or you could go to a friend's house, a relative's house, and you could be walking around the house or in the kitchen or whatever, and you could take pictures of yourself there, and people will think that's your house. Oh, look, that's a really nice house, or whatever, or that's a really nice car, or whatever it is you're showing off, but it's not yours. But you see, anyone can play that game. So when I did online dating, I didn't look at the picture of their house or their vehicle, because they could have been in a friend's house. They could have been at their boss's house for a barbecue, and the boss was financially successful, and they're living in a more modest dwelling. I, I, you know, so anybody can make up anything about anything on the internet or about anyone. Doesn't mean it's true. Um, I've tried not to, and I'm not always good at this, but like, in other words, when I went on cruises, yeah, I had a video, I had pictures, I really was there. um but to say, well, I've been here and I've been there and I've done this and I've done that and I have this and I have that, well, really, where is it? Really? If you're all that, why are you on the internet so much? I've been on the internet more in the last month because it's the winter, I'm housebound, and I'm still ill. I'm getting better slowly. I've only left my house since the end of August to go to doctor's appointments, or to go to a hospital, or to go someplace for a CAT scan, PET scan, ultrasound, you name it. God. I haven't gone anywhere. I haven't gone grocery shopping. My groceries are getting delivered. Um, and that's the honest truth. I mean, you can take it or you could leave it, whatever you want to believe. Um, the only people that have been to my house was an old friend and her daughter. Another time, the old friend and her husband were here. Um, Case manager came, I believe, 3 times. My ex-husband stopped in briefly a couple of times, and he actually helped with a minor repair. My children have been in here. My sister came to visit before Christmas. Um, I can't really remember who else. No one else has been in here. That's, you know, that's how limited my life has become. And for a couple of months, I wasn't even able to hardly walk around. Um, I was like just laying in bed. Oh, God, it's like I lost a few months of my life. I think one of these days, when I get things more wrapped up, I might do a series of audios listing certain diagnoses and how it affected me. Not because I really want to talk about it, because it's really upsetting, but if there's any other person out there that has the same diagnosis, disorder, illness, whatever you want to call it, I have a few. I think it's helpful. It's helped me a lot. I joined a couple of support groups and I've gotten some really good information. They're online support groups um, about different conditions and, symptoms and, various treatments and how it affects you and all of that. It's really been useful, but I'm kind of going off on all these different tangents. The thing is about like the lies, the fake persona, whatever. If you're lying about your appearance, about your financial status, your education, where you live, how you live, employment status, all of that, like I said, sooner or later it all comes out in the wash, and I don't want to like judge, like there's some people that might have had a criminal past and they were young and they were unsupervised or whatever and they made their changes, maybe they paid their debt to society, whatever. They were going through a rough patch, whatever. That's not any of my business. But if you've had a past and then, you're going around saying you're something else when you're really not, it you can't really be yourself. And it's almost like you kind of, I don't know, I guess you have to avoid certain situations because it's almost like someone, like when you watch the ID channel and someone takes on a fake identity, um, where like they have like a new name and I have to be careful because it might sound like I'm talking about a certain lady and I'm not talking about her. I made my amends to her, I think. But I'm talking about like on the IG channel, like where someone has a completely different identity. They move to a different place and they now say, like I saw a show where this woman moved to, I don't know if it was the Dominican Republic, and she was like a yoga instructor. And she said she broke her nose, but she really went and had plastic surgery and altered her appearance, her hair, her nose, makeup, the way she dressed, everything. And she had like a completely different name because she was on the run because she had allegedly committed a murder in the U.S. Eventually, they caught up with her. But while she was going around with that fake identity, she had to leave and go to the Dominican Republic. And she couldn't be the person she was. Every time she opened up her mouth to talk to people, she had to stop and think if she was going to incriminate herself because it was going to, it's to keep covering up the various lies. Now, um, I may have admitted to some things about myself that are not the most flattering. Um, and I remember I was doxxed a couple of years ago. I'm not at that location anymore anyway, but I was doxxed, and at first I was upset. Then I said, no, that person did me a favor. Because you know what? I'm sure a couple of people looked me up. There's nothing on me. All right? Nothing on me. Nothing, you know. I have a good credit rating. I was a licensed healthcare professional. I'm not saying that I'm squeaky clean perfect. I might have posted some mean comment on the internet here and there. Um, but you don't really have dirt on me, you know. I'm divorced. I was separated for a long time. I worked in a couple of professions. Oh, another thing is, my last career, I was management and medical billing. And if you are a licensed healthcare professional, you are required by law. And these are like whether you're a brain surgeon or like a home health care aide or a physical therapist, occupational therapist, whatever. You have to be licensed by your state. And not only that, you're going to have an MPI, which is a national provider enumerator number. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Um, there's something called a PTAN, PTAN. That's an acronym. That's like used with Medicare. And if you are in network with like commercial insurance, like Blue Cross, Blue Shield, MVP, whatever it is they have now, you have to have certain numbers, and you can have an NPI as an individual or under a group, like if you're a therapist, like in a doctor's office or whatever. So anyway, that's required by law, and a lot of people don't know this. So if someone claims that they are of a certain profession, there's a website. It's called the NPPES website, and I used it a lot at my job because a lot of these doctors, they didn't really do good with paperwork, or they would go and network with one insurance carrier then another, or they would get married and their name would change if they were female, and then they would apply for a new, and a lot of times they didn't know what their own NPI was, or their PTAN, or their whatever, their tax ID. If they were an LLC versus being like an I forgot, it was like when you were an individual, you didn't have like an individual tax ID number, you had an LLC. So anyway, it's all listed on the NPPES website. So if anyone ever claimed to me to be a certain type of medical healthcare professional, even a nurse, all I would, and you don't even need the last name, all you have to do is go to the state, um, and you could look it up several different ways. You could look at the category, like if they were a dentist, you could put in dentist. It was easier if you had the full name, but you could even do it by first name. You could do it by last name. You could pull up every dentist in that state. You could go through everything. So if you claim that you are or you have been a licensed healthcare professional, I could find it probably lickety split. And if you're not going by your real name, you're not going to be in there, because you'll be in there under your legal name. So, it's almost like a way of finding out someone's identity. So, yeah, years ago when Harry first contacted me, my specialty, believe it or not, was chiropractic. I was management in billing out for chiropractors. And I did, commercial insurance, no fault, which is also called PI in different states, personal injury, and workers' comp. And the company that I worked for, we did all 50 states. So I was familiar with different, um, doctors in different states and whatever. That was another reason why we needed to use the NPPS website, whatever. This is really going to be a long video. People are going to get bored. So I remember, like, and one of the things at my job, I'm sorry I'm going all over the place, was um, even after I stopped working there, if you made a referral to my company and you got a client to sign up for 3 months or longer, you got a finder's fee. Okay? So, by coincidence, initially I was not interested in Perry. I thought he was an a-hole, and I thought he was a troll. I was not interested. It was not, but he mentioned that he was a retired chiropractor and his brother was still in practice. So then I started talking shop with him. I started talking to him about billing, different codes, modifiers for Medicare, reprocessing claims, workers' comp, various laws, how, a lot of claims were not processed correctly. If the diagnoses are not put in a certain order, you have to do bone, muscle, and neurological, like primary, secondary, and tertiary for the diagnosis. And if you don't have your computer set up correctly with codes to do the billing, it will kick back. It wastes a lot of man hours, which costs you money. So anyway, we would talk. I'm just giving you an example of what we would talk about. So I was trying to get him to get his brother, and he had other relatives that were in the chiropractic field. I was trying to get them to sign up, because at every account that signed up, I was going to get something. And that's how we started talking. That was, so anyway, But anyone else, like if I met somebody and they said, "Oh, I'm a dentist," I had their first name or their last name, what state they lived in, or where they worked, I could find them, you know? So, there's a lot of ways of finding out things about people on the internet. I wouldn't call it doxing, I'd call it protecting yourself. And I don't care, I I have a friend that said, working at Walmart is not a bad thing. It's a big company. They give promotions. He's a relative that worked at Walmart and started off, didn't have, a huge education, started off at the bottom, but had a good work ethic, good personality. And that person ended up becoming management, had benefits, blah, blah, blah. I don't judge. I don't care if you're working at Walmart or you're the world and society, it's different occupations are what you would call we have a symbiotic relationship. People used to look down like maybe on like a garbage man. Well, think of it, where would the world be without a garbage man or garbage woman? It's a necessary thing. It's part of society. So whether you're the person that works at Walmart or the Dollar Tree or you're the garbage man, and I don't consider those below or beneath. During the pandemic, we had what you called essential workers, and they were then valued more. People in occupations that were not traditionally looked upon favorably. Now, all of a sudden, they were looked upon favorably because people now realized how much they depended on having their groceries delivered or truck drivers transporting things, healthcare professionals, like the person working at the gas station because you needed to put gas in your car. Even during the pandemic, there were people that needed to, if you worked at an essential job, you needed to gas up your car and drive to work. I'm really going all over the place, and this is long, but I just had half a cup of coffee. But anyway, when you get older, you've experienced situations and you learn from each one, and you learn about who's telling the truth, who's lying, who's confident, who's comfortable, what kind of answers they provide. And if someone's telling a lie to protect their identity, I don't judge. I could really see why people need to protect their identity, why they're not comfortable with certain things. Um, but if somebody is claiming to be all that and then their actions don't match up to what they've told you, or they're claiming to be wealthy but um, they present a certain way and they live a certain way that doesn't match up with the story they've told, you know what? I don't have to get even or punish them because they are living in their own imprisonment. They are trapping themselves. And like my father said, people punish themselves. I don't have to punish anyone. That's not my job. That's not my job. I proudly admit I shop on JEANNIE'S, Walmart clearance, sometimes Amazon, you know, and sometimes it's higher end stuff. I own some higher end things, but the majority of what I have is, you know, I like a bargain. I like a bargain. I would go to a yard sale. Um, People, when they move, a lot of times they'll give things away free, that Facebook Marketplace, or they'll sell it really cheap. I have no problem with that. I've given stuff away or sold things cheap myself. So why wouldn't someone else do it? And then I can profit from whatever their situation is. But I've shown my house. I'm not going to show you like if the toilet bowl needs cleaning and I'm cleaning a toilet bowl. But I mean, you know, I'm not going to lie and say I'm a certain thing when I'm not, because you can look, if you're really smart, you can look around my house, or you could look at how I present myself, And if you're really smart, you could tell the difference between a $5,000 Remy human hair wig and a $5 Wish wig. And if you can't, you're either stupid or you've got some kind of agenda with a narcissistic smear campaign. And I don't care. I know what I have, and I know I don't live beyond my means, you know. But anyway, I'm all over the place with this, but it's very freeing when you feel comfortable enough with yourself to be yourself, and when you've put out so many lies that you have to hide. You have to hide and hide your name, your appearance, your identity, your profession, everything, your financial status, because you've lied about it. If you don't say anything about who you are, what you are, whatever, then you don't really have to hide because you just haven't said anything. But if you go and you fabricate all this stuff, now you're stuck. And this is not just on the internet, but it's in real life. Because I saw Marianne do it. I've seen other people do it. Probably done a little bit of it in the past myself. But it's got to be really, though, sad to be living a lie. And I once had a neighbor years ago that I became friendly with. And let's call her Anna. And she had met Marianne. And I wouldn't say we gossip, but sometimes when I was here with Anna, Anna used to like to come over. My kids were quite a bit younger back then, so she would come over, and hang out. We'd watch TV. I remember I was watching American Idol, the second season, with that guy Clay. But anyway, I forgot his last name. Anna made a good point, and she used to talk about Marianne, and she said, with all the BS and the games she played with different men online and all that, she said, can you imagine? She said, I feel sorry for her. You know how, like, when you're laying in bed at night, maybe you wake up to go to the bathroom and it takes you a little while to go back to sleep. She said, you're laying in bed alone with your own thoughts and you think back to your own behavior. She said, can you imagine being her, laying in bed alone at night, knowing that she lied and she played all these sick little games? She was like, how does she live with herself? How does she look in the mirror in the morning and brush her teeth? But now that I'm older and I know better, I think about it and I go, she probably, it never even went through her mind. If you're like a full-on narcissist or you've got some kind of major psychiatric disorder going on, you know what? It doesn't bother you. You don't even think. You just kind of laugh and think you got over. But I do know when that woman had situations in her life where she was like kind of exposed, she would get in a panic mode and she would hide. And I knew another woman that knew her and said the same thing. She said, it was like she couldn't go certain places or be around certain people because they knew the truth about her. And she was afraid that, like, they would tell everyone else. So she would have to avoid, like, she couldn't go into a certain neighborhood or around certain groups of people because they would, like, know all her little games and what she had done and all of that. But, like, that's not a good way to live. That's just so limiting. I just say, be like that guy on the internet and just say who you really are. And then that way you don't have to hide from certain situations because you've lied about, certain things. So anyway, yeah, this is really run out. I'm running on. If you've listened through the whole thing, God bless you. Anyway, everyone, have a great day. All right, bye.